Night 1 of Fyter Fest is in the bag, and with it comes a change for night number 2, plus we have New Japan Cup results. What's up, everybody? Eric here from That's Wrestling. Thanks for tuning in to today's Newswire. We'll be running down the AEW Dynamite show, but we have a little news to get to first. So, Jon Moxley versus Brian Cage is getting pushed back 1 week to the 15th. It will be a show named Fight for the Fallen. It will be Dynamite, of course, on Wednesday night, but that is what they're calling it this year. Again, it's going to be a charity show, just like Fight for the Fallen last year. This year, it's going to be for COVID relief. The reason Moxley is not going to be at next week's show is they're actually taping it tonight on July 2nd, and he didn't want to come in given that his wife, Renee Young, has COVID. While he has tested negative on all the tests so far, he is still in the house with her, so he doesn't want to risk the AEW crew at all, so they made the decision to push it out another week, so that will give him an entire 2 more weeks of being testing negative, hopefully, and Renee is hopefully recovered by the end of that. So that is what's up with that. We also have New Japan Cup results for Night 7. We had Hiromu Takahashi defeated Tomohiro Ishii. We had Evil defeating Yoshihashi. We had Okada defeating Taiji Ishimori, and Sanada took down Tai Chi. So Tai Chi's run of beating Tanahashi and Ibushi has come to an end at Sanada. So we're going into the semifinals, which are going to be tomorrow morning, at least for those of us on the East Coast in the United States. Okada versus Hiromu Takahashi, and then Sanada versus Evil will be the semifinals. And then the next show after that is going to be on the 11th, where we will find out who will face Tetsuya Naito at Dominion on the 12th. Night 1 of Fyter Fest kicked off with the tag match of Jungleboy and Luchasurus versus Warlow and MJF. MJF decided to come down to the ring in a bubblegum pink muumuu, as well as pink ring gear. Not the greatest look. He cuts a promo basically saying, if we're in a ratings war, you got to have MJF out there at the beginning so they can get the W. And after a spirited match and many of impressive moves by the big man Wardlow and Luchasaurus, very similar to their match last week, MJF accidentally punches Wardlow with the Dynamite Diamond ring, and Luchasaurus finishes off Wardlow with a standing shooting star press to pick up the victory there. Next up, we had an excellent match between Penelope Ford and Hikaru Shida for the AEW Women's title. This match was probably the best women's match in AEW so far, and might have also been the match of the night. Hikaru Shida has a bit of a scuffle with Kip Sabian before the match even starts, and Aubrey Edwards tosses Sabian from ringside, so he scurries off, but he also grabs Hikaru Shida's kendo stick on the way out. Of course, Kip Sabian cannot keep it in the back, so he comes out near the end and tries to interfere, but Shida gets the best of him, getting a hold of the kendo stick and clocking him in the head, and then Shida picks up the win after 2 running knees, a Falcon Arrow, and then a 3rd running knee to retain the AEW Women's Championship. Jake Hager challenged Cody for the TNT Championship, accompanied by his wife, Catalina. Brandy could not be there because her dog passed away yesterday, so she's decided to head home to take care of that. And the match was fine, but really the finish ended out working strange. Might have been good on paper, but in execution did not go over very well. In the closing moments of the match, Hager had Cody in an arm triangle on the ground, and Cody rolled it over into a pin, and he also then passed out in the arm triangle. So when the 3 was counted, Jake Hager thought he won from referee stoppage, even though Cody won from pin. So the finish came off as very confusing on TV, or everywhere for that matter. This might spur a rematch, not sure, but the finish just didn't work here. The match was okay, but it wasn't anything spectacular. Private Party, accompanied by Matt Hardy, faced off against Santana and Ortiz, and before this match, it was announced that the winner of this match would go on to next week face the AEW Tag Champions of the final match of the night. So that is the match that is replacing Moxley versus Brian Cage, which is pushed to the 15th, as mentioned earlier. The match was what you would expect. Private Party had a lot of fast movement, high flying. Santana and Ortiz did a bit of more of a brawling style. In the end, Mark Quinn escaped a street sweeper attempt by pulling Santana's headband around his eyes so he couldn't see, and then they hit Gin and Juice on Santana and picked up the victory there. So they will be facing the winners of the final match of the night next week for the tag titles. And then we have the final match of the night, which was Best Friends arriving in a minivan driven by Trent's mom versus Kenny Omega and Hangman Page. FTR actually came out as well with some beach chairs and a cooler full of beer, and they set up by the commentary desk to observe the match. Best Friends actually almost pulled out the win at one point. They hit a strong 0 on Hangman, which was only broken up by Kenny Omega. Omega actually went for a one-winged angel on Chuck, but Chuck got out of it and then hit an awful waffle, both of them not being the legal man at that point. So it didn't make a ton of difference here. And then Hangman just goes lone wolf, and he finishes off the match by hitting Dead Eyes for a 2 count and then hitting a buckshot lariat for the 3. So no last call from Kenny Omega and Hangman Page. Hangman Page went it alone at the end there. And then after the match, FTR comes down to the ring and offers a beer to Hangman and Kenny Omega. But of course, Omega doesn't drink, so he pretended like he was about to take a drink of beer, but then instead dumped it out. Of course, Hangman accepted a beer, and dumping the beer out made Dax Harwood mad, who took off his coat. It looked like it was going to come to blows. The Young Bucks run out and try to smooth things over. It's a lot of yelling at this point. And in the end, though, we have basically a shot of the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega on one side, FTR and Hangman Page on the other side. So I'm not sure if they're going to head down the breakup angle quickly for Omega and Page, but there's still that tension there. And so next week, the difference from the previous announced card is going to be Moxley and Brian Cage are getting pushed to the 15th, and instead it's going to be Omega and Hangman versus Private Party for the tag titles. So that's all the news for today. Thanks for tuning into the Newswire on That's Wrestling. Tonight will be the AEW review show at 7 p.m. Eastern. And then on Sunday the 5th at 7 p.m. Eastern, we'll be doing the New Japan Cups night 6, 7, and 8. So be sure to check that out. And I will see you next time on That's Wrestling. See you later, guys.